Hi, and welcome to the Caterpillar Cross Stitch YouTube channel. My name's Ford from Son of a Stitch, and this week I'm going to be answering a question that somebody asked me in the comments of one of my recent videos here on the channel. This is also a question that I see asked quite frequently in some of the online cross-stitch communities that I'm in, so I figured this week I would do a deep dive into variegated floss. What is it? What do you use it for? And how do you get the most out of it? Now here at Caterpillar Cross Stitch, we are all about cross stitch, and we upload helpful and, with any luck, entertaining videos about it every single week. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And in particular, if you like this video, give it a like and leave me a comment down below. Likewise, if you have a question that you'd like me to address on the channel, or if you think that I missed something that other stitchers might find useful, put that in the comments for us as well. Before I get any further, I do want to remind you to join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch VIP Stitch Club. When you join up, you'll get 10% off your first order. You'll get a digital ebook with 8 free PDF cross-stitch patterns in it, and you'll get a download with our top 10 cross-stitching tips. So hit the link down there in the description so that you can get all of those amazing perks. Now, variegated floss is kind of a blanket term that we use to describe any kind of floss that is not the exact same color throughout its entire length. This can be known by a number of other different names as well. You'll sometimes hear it called hand-dyed, over-dyed, dip-dyed, space-dyed, variations, or colorous. Now those last two are the two different kinds of variegated floss that DMC, the most common brand of embroidery floss manufacturer, uses. And they are slightly different. So the variations, or their color variations floss, is the same hue, so the same particular color, but with slightly different tones, so varying in lightness and darkness. So you'll have a floss that is a particular color of yellow, but one section of the floss will be a lighter version of that yellow, and another section will be a darker version of that yellow. And then colorous is what they call their flosses that are actually multiple colors blending in and out of one another throughout the length of the floss. So for instance, a floss that will fade from a purple into a yellow into a green throughout the length of the strand, that's called colorous within DMC's world. There are a lot of other small and artisanal makers who create these kinds of flosses that you might be able to find in your local needlework shop as well, and they can add a lot of fun variety to your project. So what do you use variegated floss for? Personally, I really like it anytime I'm doing something that might have one particular color. It's a lot of that color and I want to add some variety to the project. So if I'm doing a large, say, Quaker style sampler that is usually monochrome, it's fun to use the variegated floss there because it'll add some dimension and some variation to it. I also like to use it anytime I'm doing something that would naturally have some color variation within it. So I'll use it in flower petals, or I'll use it in leaves anytime I have a motif like that within a project. And another area where I've had really great success using variegated floss is in a project that was meant to simulate stained glass. So the color variation floss there would kind of simulate that natural tone shift that you get within a piece of glass like that. So those are the kinds of projects that I really like to use them. But really, the sky's the limit, and there are tons of different things that you can use variegated floss for once you've figured out how to get a great result from it. So how do you get good results using variegated floss? Well, for me, for the most part, it involves throwing everything I normally do right out the window. First of all, don't use loop start. I know, it makes things a lot easier, it helps keep the project cleaner, but there's a very good reason not to use it with variegated floss, and I'll show you. If you're a follower of the channel, you probably are familiar with loop start. Basically, you start your thread by putting both ends of a single piece of floss through the eye of your needle to make up your two strands. That way you wind up with a loop on the end that you can just hook to the floss to start your stitching, so you don't have to do anything with the end when you start it. But if you use it with variegated floss, you quickly start to see a problem, which is that the two strands that I've got here are not the same color. Here I've got purple and white, here I've got purple and yellow. Here they kind of match up, so that part would look okay, but up here again we have purple and yellow. So instead of getting a nice gradual gradient, you wind up with something that looks like this, where all the different colors have kind of mangled and muddied up together, and you get this kind of speckly look. Now, if that's something that would work for your project, then that's okay. But for me, I'm trying to go for a nice natural looking gradient, and this just doesn't really fit the bill. And my next tip, don't use the Danish method. Again, this is how I always stitch. It helps keep things tidy. It helps all of my stitches have a nice uniform direction and consistency. But let me show you what happens if you use Danish style with variegated floss. Now, you may not necessarily be familiar with the term, but you're almost certainly familiar with the method of the Danish method. It's where you work in rows, doing half of a stitch at a time and then crossing them all on your way back. And this helps keep the back of the project tidy and helps minimize floss waste and gives you tidier stitches because it keeps the direction of them all in the same direction. But you can see here the problem that that creates, which is that one, the difference between the rows is quite stark, so I get this really significant horizontal banding. But also you get a problem similar to the one that loop start creates, which is that when you go down and back, sometimes the color will transition before you come back around, and so you'll wind up with stitches like these ones where the bottom half of the stitch is yellow and the top half of the stitch is purple. So again, instead of a natural looking color variation, you wind up with these kind of stripes, but here they're diagonal instead of being all speckled like they are there. So it doesn't really create the desired effect that I'm going for when I'm using variegated floss. And my next tip, again, not the way I normally do things, but don't work in rows. Let me show you a better way and why. So I showed you the problem with working in rows before, which is that it creates these horizontal bands instead of a more natural looking transition. So instead, what I do when I'm working with variegated floss, instead of working in rows, I'll tend to start at a particular point and I will kind of work my way out in a more natural and dynamic way until I kind of completely fill in the area. So here's an example of what happens when you do that with this particular color of floss. Now, this is a colorless floss instead of a color variations floss, so it has multiple different colors, and the colors are kind of short. It has kind of a short colorway, so you're going to get a little more patchy look with a particular floss like this one. But if we use this method with a floss that has a more gradual color change, then we get a much more natural look. So let me show you what I'm talking about there. I can't use loop start here, and I don't want to turn my piece over because I've got it mounted in my lap stand. So I'm going to start this thread with the waist knot method. And I'm going to use English method, so I'm going to cross each stitch as I go. And rather than working in rows, I'm going to kind of naturally and organically work my way out from my starting point here. And I will put this in fast forward so you can kind of see. I've got a few stitches over the top of where my tail is. I just snip off my waist knot. So you can see here as my color shifted from the darker purple on into the lighter purple and would have continued shifting on into the very light purple, I've got a more gradual shift across my motif here than these really distinctive horizontal bands that I get when working in rows. So if you're doing a little leaf shape or something like that, I usually just start at a point or a corner and kind of work my way out dynamically and organically like that in order to get a more natural shift in tone. I want to take a moment here to recommend that you join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Facebook group and follow the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Instagram. There's a really excellent community of stitchers that has grown up around the Caterpillar Cross Stitch brand. There's tons of people in that group and in the comments of the Instagram posts that have thousands of years collectively of experience with cross stitching. So if you're looking for project inspiration ideas, if you're looking for tips of how to deal with a particular project, or if you're just looking for commiseration because you've made a big mistake and you have to frog a whole section of your project, you'll find what you're looking for in those places. And my final tip, fortunately, does not involve throwing everything that I normally do out the window. It's simply to start from the opposite end from each set of strands that you use, so that when you switch from one set of strands to the next and load a new needle, you don't have a sudden shift in tone back to where it started, and it'll gradually shift back into it. Let me show you what I mean. I've left my floss a little bit bunched up here from pulling my two strands out of it, just to make it easier to get it all in the frame to show you what I'm talking about. But I have two distinctive ends here. One end that is a very light purple and one end that is quite a dark purple. So when I'm doing a large area that I can't cover with just one strand, I'll start by putting my needle on the light purple end, for instance, and stitch until I get to the end, and then bury my tail end. And then the next needle load, I will use the dark end of the strands, so that instead of suddenly shifting from a bunch of light purple stitches to a bunch of dark purple stitches, it will gradually shift from light purple to dark purple, and then it will gradually shift back to light purple, so that I don't have a sudden and obvious transition of color because of my variegated color changes. So those are the techniques that I use for getting the most out of variegated floss. Do you feel like there's something I missed or a tip that you have that maybe other stitchers could benefit from? Leave that in the comments down below. If you have a question that you'd like me to address on the channel, go ahead and leave that as well. Thanks so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, I'm Ford, and I'll see you next time.